Picture Anglo-Indian life, and you probably picture railway colonies, Christmas dances, good schools, and that's real. What you don't usually hear is that under British rule, we weren't fully accepted as British. And in independent India, some of us didn't feel fully accepted as Indian either. Women were often the ones holding families together, working as teachers, nurses, and clerks, while the whole community tried to work out where it even belonged. That's the story I want to tell you. I was born into the middle of it, in Agra, in 1957, 10 years after India gained independence. By then, British rule was already part of the past, but its effects hadn't disappeared. India was building a new future, and the Anglo-Indian community was trying to work out where it belonged in it. Independence in 1947 brought both hope and uncertainty. India was home. Most had been born there, as had their parents and grandparents. But our English language, our Christian faith, and our close ties to certain jobs under British rule made a lot of families anxious about what came next. Now, it wasn't as though everything changed overnight. The Constitution protected Anglo-Indian jobs in the railways, customs, and postal services for a 10-year transition period. By the time I was born in 1957, that transition was well underway. For most families, a secure job was the center of everyday life. Anglo-Indians were strongly represented in the railways, post and telegraph, customs, police, teaching, nursing, and technical trades. The railways are probably the best-known part of this story. Families lived in colonies near the stations and workshops, with their own housing, schools, churches, sports grounds. The Railway Institute was the social heart of it all. Dances, weddings, music, cricket, hockey. But not every Anglo-Indian worked for the railways, and not every railway family lived comfortably. A senior station master and a low-paid worker did not have the same life just because they belonged to the same community. Class made a real difference. Some families had steady salaries and sent their children to respected English medium schools. Others survived on casual work, often on the earnings of just one family member. Education mattered enormously because it was the path to secure work. Agra had its own strong Anglo-Indian presence, churches, schools, places like St. Peter's College that had served generations of Christian and Anglo-Indian boys. But good education wasn't available to everyone. Fees, uniforms, books, all of it cost money poor families didn't have. And as India's job market shifted toward qualifications and the old community job protections faded, some families adapted well. Others got caught in a cycle of limited schooling, low pay, and unemployment. We can't leave poverty out of this story. Cities like Kolkata had large Anglo-Indian communities that included doctors and railway officers, but also plenty of working class and poor families. Unemployment, overcrowded housing, charities stepping in to help with food and school fees. That was real too. Despite all that uncertainty, the culture stayed strong. English was the first language at home. Christianity was central. Music and dancing were everywhere. Anglo-Indian musicians shaped India's hotel bands and film orchestras for decades. And the food carried the whole story in it. Indian spices meeting British and European influence. Ball curry, mulligatawny, country captain chicken, Christmas cakes passed down through generations, each family's version a little different. Then came the 1950s and 60s, years of departure. Large numbers of Anglo-Indians left for Britain, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, worried their children might not have a future in India. English-speaking countries seemed to promise more security, even though migrants often faced real prejudice once they arrived. Those farewells changed life for the people who stayed behind too. Families who'd lived near each other for generations were suddenly scattered across the world, and it wasn't evenly spread. The families who were already struggling were often the ones least able to leave, which only weakened the community networks that older and poorer people relied on. Growing up Anglo-Indian in India could mean carrying a complicated identity. Indian by birth for generations, but language, faith, names, and customs that sometimes marked you as different. There was no single response to that. Some families built their whole future in India. Some held tightly to the old ways. Others looked overseas. Many of us carried more than one of those feelings at once. That's why I don't want to leave you with one romantic picture. Yes, there was music, dancing, close family life, wonderful food, but there was also poverty, unemployment, and real anxiety about the future. Both of those things are true at the same time, for the same community. I don't remember all of it myself, but the stories my mother told me connect the history before my birth to the journey that eventually brought me from Agra to Australia. If you grew up in an Anglo Indian family in the 1950s or 60s, I'd love to hear what it was like for you. Was your family connected to the railways, or teaching, or nursing? Did some of you leave while others stayed behind? Every family lived those years a little differently, and your memories can help tell a fuller, truer version of this story.